My name is Laura. I am a survivor of domestic abuse, and today I'm breaking my silence.
Flo, what kind of impact has your story had since you've told it?
I think I've been very fortunate because I've had such a platform on TikTok. So not only has it affected me really deeply and personally because I felt seen and I felt heard, it's also impacted other ladies. I was actually talking about it recently, and my target was 2 women. I wanted to save 2 women by telling my story. And that has skyrocketed. I'm nearly in my 20s and, 35 children and counting. So to be able to have that effect by just telling my story is something that I will always keep with me.
Were you expecting to have the response you did?
Absolutely not. So my TikTok journey started because I had a mental breakdown. I left my ex, when I was 20, and I kind of thought I was healed. I thought my journey was over when it comes to domestic violence. And then I had a mental breakdown in about May of 2021. I was getting poorly leading up to that point, but the actual physical breakdown didn't happen until May 2021. And I started TikTok because I wanted to share to my family and friends at the time what my life was like every day, because I wanted to raise money to go private. The therapy that they were offering on the NHS was only CBT or talk therapy, and I heard about EMDR or EDMR, I don't know which one it is, and that was really good for people that were suffering with flashbacks and trauma. And that was one of the main things that I was struggling with. I was having intense flashbacks of waterboarding. So I shared my TikTok to share it to my own private Facebook group, and it went viral. It went viral-ish, and then I thought, and my partner was actually getting quite a lot of hate because he was in there washing my hair. So there's a video of him washing my hair, and because I'm talking about the torture and the waterboarding, they were like, oh my God, is it him, is it him? And I then felt morally obligated to explain to them that's my partner helping me through my trauma, not my abusive one. And then it just kind of snowballed, really. And then, before I knew it, it was 20, then 30, then 40. And I didn't really realize the impact I was making until I had an accessible Instagram. So I had my private Instagram, which I didn't attach to my TikTok at all. And then I realized, probably at about July time, that I needed to have an Instagram so that survivors and other people, if they needed to, they could kind of reach out and have a safe space with me. And that was when I really realized the impact that my story was having, because it wasn't just a comment under a video. These people were taking their time out to find me, to share their story, and to kind of say, this is how you've helped me, or this is what I need. And that was when I really realised that the effect that it had of telling your story.
Once you started suffering from PTSD and the flashbacks, what part of the abuse do you think was triggered the most?
2, the waterboarding and the rape. So one of the things that I got diagnosed with was complex PTSD, but I also ended up getting agoraphobia. This was because I started to decline in my physical health. And any time I would get a sharp pain in my stomach, I would have a flashback. Now, my flashbacks can vary. They can go from conscious flashbacks to semi-conscious to unconscious, and also body. So it kind of goes across the board. But at that period of time, I was unconscious. And it was funny. not ha-ha funny, but ironic funny, I was saying to my partner that I felt more abused now in the most safest, loving relationship than I did when I was 19, because I was actually internalizing the rapes. I was actually internalizing the abuse, and my poor partner and dad had to hear me scream for help and try and bring that around. So the rape was one that I really, really struggled with. And then the waterboarding. I don't think anyone can understand like the violation it feels to not be able to clean yourself because of fear that you're going to go into a flashback. And it was this cycle of knowing that, at the start, I didn't know what the fuck was happening. Like, I'd go into the shower, I would collapse. I thought I was hallucinating, it really, really, and that didn't help with my mental breakdown at all. It wasn't until I spoke with the crisis team that I realised what these were classified as, and they were classified as flashbacks. And then that fear kind of sets in. So after a while, you kind of like learn behavior, I guess, even, when you're in an abusive relationship, you learn not to do certain things out of fear. And that's exactly what happened for me to even basically clean myself. I still am not there. I can't shower on my own. I am now able to have a bath, which I'm grateful for. But when it comes to showering, washing my hair, I've got this seed of doubt in my mind, like, what if it happens? And I mean, they always say, like, when you're heightened, you're not necessarily going to be able to regulate your emotions as well. So therefore, it's a vicious cycle, right? Like, I'm heightened, so I'm going to have a flashback. So then I'm scared to go, so then I'm heightened. And it's about trying to break that cycle of feeling so scared. And like I said, I'm getting there. I'm having my baths now. And I went months, at least 5 months, I went not being able to bathe myself and solely relying on my partner to be able to wash me. That to me was, I say this word a lot, but the biggest violation, because the crisis team will come in and they'll say, self-care, like have a cup of tea and go and take a shower. And it was like, I physically can't have a shower. I physically can't do self-care. And the basic things of washing yourself to make yourself feel better had been ripped away from me. So they were the two for my complex PTSD that were hard, a really hard pill to swallow. I felt injustice I felt it was unjustified. Maybe that's the wrong word, but I was a prisoner in my own home years after the abuse. I was a prisoner when I was 19. I was a prisoner when I was 28. And this man walks free with no justice, no prison time. And for what he done, I have to live with for the rest of my life.
Since sharing your story, what changes have you realised need to happen for victims?
There are so many, like it's countless. The main thing that I really want to get is to make domestic abuse a punishable offence. I can't keep saying it enough. It's like building a house with no foundation. It's great, we've got cement, we have roof, we have a window, we have walls, but it's going to topple over and it's going to fall because we've got no foundation to hold it up. What is the difference between common assault outside a pub and common assault within a relationship? A huge amount. And actually that needs to be clarified within society. I mean, recently they've been talking about a possible register. Great, that is needed, a public register to name and shame these perpetrators. But how are they going to go and register if there's not even a charge that says domestic abuse? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's the basic fundamental thing that we need. And I was appalled to hear that didn't exist. I mean, let alone the victim shaming, let alone the sentencing, let alone how much time they get. These things need to come later. I don't think that it's like one and done, domestic abuse, good to go. There's so many flaws within the system, but you have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Talk about your petition a bit.
So at the moment, I have a petition going. This is to make it domestic abuse, a punishable offence within England and Wales. Now, our sister country, Scotland, has that. So something that's very similar. It's not like I'm asking, so France might have it, for instance. I don't know about France, but say France has the domestic abuse punishable offence. I can understand if the Prime Minister or Priti Patel, the person that I have been in contact with, is pushing the brakes on that, because we have complete different justice systems. But you can't sit there and say to me that it's justified that Scotland have this, but England and Wales do not. So I have a petition going on at the moment. I have 43,000 signatures as I last checked, to kind of make this a punishable offence. Now, I did speak to Priti Patel, and she said that she felt that they had done enough. And I disagree. We have not fucking done enough. We are so far from doing enough. It's insulting. I read that email and I didn't respond. I had no fucking idea what to say. How on earth? Like, how dare you sit there and say that we have done enough? Like, no, we haven't. And she knows that deep down. Like, my ideal dream would be to walk into Boris Johnson's office, sit down with survivors and say, listen to our stories, because it is compelling. Nobody can sit in a room with me and say that they felt nothing when I talk about torture and rape. And I want them to feel that. We are not a statistic. We are human beings. And until you sit around people that have been through it with different stories, don't fucking tell me you've done enough, because you haven't.
I know you're pretty close to your dad and you're now in a new relationship. What kind of impact has this male influence had in your life?
It's fundamental, like, kind of going back, if we're going to go back to like the building metaphor, you need a foundation in order to be able to build. And I was so scared to tell my dad about my ex, and I think that's why I was in it for so long. But to have a man set those standards for me and to show me how it is to be loved, has helped me. A lot of people hear my story and they say, how on earth did you move on? And, I'm so not ready to have a relationship. And I would like to say, number one, I was single for 7 years. I didn't jump straight into a relationship. It took me a long time as well. A lot of mistakes along the way, a lot of learning and growing. I was young as well. But truly, to have a dad that I'm very, very lucky. I mean, he drove from Cornwall to Essex so that I could participate this weekend. He's awesome. And I didn't even think that he would, and he always consistently surprises me, and so does my partner. And I don't think that the relationship after the abuse is spoken about enough. We have our challenges. It was funny because on TikTok, they'll be like, oh my God, you guys are couple goals. And he's not told me he loved me for the third time today. And I'm thinking, are we couple goals then? It's this like society pressure where they see something and they might not necessarily know the reality of it. And I think it is a really important thing to talk about. Like, we're human. We've had rows. We've had a lot of butting heads, a lot of miscommunication, fallouts, so many triggers. It's to be untrue. I didn't realise how many triggers I had until I was with my new partner. And yeah, I think I'm very fortunate that I've got a man that will grow with me rather than against me, and to understand that I'm on this journey. And I truly believe that somebody is out there for everybody. If they wanted to, they would. And I'm a firm believer in that.
Okay, one last question. So, for every single female victim and survivor that comes back and watches your interview here, what would you say to them?
Oh, I see you and I love you, and it's going to be okay. I think, sorry, I'm trying not to cry. I think for so long I was in the shadows of who I had wanted to be. I felt so isolated and so alone. Sorry. And I just want anyone who watches this to know that they're not alone. There's so many women out there that believe you, that love you, that care about you. And if there's anything that I can do, you know, then I will. If there's anything that I can help with, any advice, you know, if someone resonates with my story and they need to know how I got free, I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to say, I don't believe you, where's the proof? I just would like to give you a virtual hug and say it's going to be okay.